меня хрипы.
Что, серьезно?
Да, серьезно. Я очень серьезный человек.
Я русский. Дед мой до Берлина дошел. 3 раза в танке горел. Не надо путать фашизм с желанием жить на своей родине по своим законам.
Что вы делаете? И не стыдно вам, а? Конец, прекратите вы это такое все.
Не, ну скажите всем нам, почему именно за вас? Весь двор не мог спать.
Давайте, ну подходите ко мне. Подходи ко мне.
Внутренняя или внешняя непохожесть одного человека на многих других, она, конечно, очень тяжело переживается человеком. И
Не слыхал.
это большие проблемы для жизни.
Dear friends, we are glad to welcome for the stage the members of our jury, Светланы Проскуриной and Евгения Горяинова. I'll ask my plea, please just make the light a little bit softer, so not so bright. Yeah, just put some more light into the hall. Sorry that we are just making our rules here. So before we start our meeting today, so I would like to say a couple of words. So I'm always thankful to all the students and the people who are working here at the festival, and I hope that they really take our advice about the like the light, or just give your response to that. And that's important for me, that I could see the audience and like into the face, and I try to talk with them frankly. So one more point I would like to cover is just like to learn or to study. And I have 2 higher educations, and I just wonder what I have actually left from that in my life, and maybe you can find something interesting. And actually, if you bring at least one line, one important idea from this meeting, that will be really nice for your future. I think that my teacher, Averbach, gave me a lot of knowledges, and I think he actually didn't know even that he is my teacher. I just followed him everywhere, if it was possible to find him, or just to have some meetings with him. And his mother actually accompanied and allowed us to come in and just have a cup of tea, and just the way how he was talking, and the way how we can listen to each other during our conversation, that was just amazing experience. So once I made one short film, and I brought him to the film, and he was silent afterwards. And then he made me such a comment like, Svetlana, you're a director. And actually that made me very sturdy and confirmed about what I could hear from the outcoming world, and that gave certain assurance into me. That was the most important thing in my life. And the second thing, maybe you could take it with you as well. When you reach the middle part of the film, you actually understand that you despise it, and you just don't know anything, and that's just the last point for you. You can't move forward, and you don't want to continue your job anymore. And actually, every film that I show, I experience that's the same shameful feeling. And what you can do about that, just stop reflecting, continue working, continue what you're doing, and later you just gain some more assurance. And actually, every time this piece of advice was very helpful to me. I even don't know what we can take into our experience, like from any person who we meet, or maybe from the street in the morning, or just teachers or parents. It doesn't matter. We never know what can it be, and later it can be part of your life and actually form your face or image in your profession. So sorry that I'm talking so right now too long. So another point is that Vladimir Markovich Persov gave me such a feeling, such an intonation, such an excitement in my work, because we worked together and we made some documentaries together. I actually so feel kind of compassion and sorry for that he is not with us right now, and I just don't know what to do without him. And that's actually was another moment for me, and I would give you advice that choose the right person who you are going to work with. It doesn't guarantee the certain result to you, but that will be a certain effect and gives a certain result that you will reach whatever you want, and of course you can show something worthy to the world. So luckily in my life I could afford it, and I could choose the correct people in my experience. Well, you made such an interesting and even poetic comments. So that's not in vain, and that we are talking here, and that the sound engineer, sound designer is talking about like kind of poetry or artistry, and that's really nice. It's just in the broader sense of this word we are covering this point here. So today we have this meeting to talk about interesting topic, and thank you for putting it nicely in such an interesting words. So first we decided not to show anything else here right now for the beginning, so that's only the title of this workshop you could see on the screen. And this particular experience of the design of sound designer and what they're feeling during their work is usually behind the scenes. Nobody like knows and sees that. So that's kind of personal experience and even intimate to a certain point. Well, actually, a bit anxious and a little bit nervous when I'm on the stage, every time when I'm coming to the stage. So every time it happens with me. So this topic maybe sounds a little bit controversial, because here we just talking about the conflict as well. And there is another word like the very fragile harmony that we could cover. And I even don't know how we can just put it together. Actually, for the beginning, I would like to start talking about the conflict. just because I'm the master of the conflict. That's not the obvious conflict, but sometimes you can feel it, and these kind of feelings and expressions you can experience when you finish the whole movie. And still you can experience that just maybe a little bit mistaken. You can tell me that. So still, it's just part of any artistic process, architecture, music, painting. That's the conflict of the music lights and different lines, and literature as well, of course, contains a lot of conflicts in their works. And whatever, even just our words, the alterations of these consonants and vowels that we are having in our speech, it's also a certain conflict. Of course, cinematography and cinema has conflicts as well. We have students from the directors departments, and of course they know a lot about that. Even at the early stages, there were no such a notion that the conflict should be between the visual and sound. So still we have it now, this in cinematography right now. And just here, one of the questions came to my mind. I know that some of the sound engineer students, not only me. So the question is, are you ready to allow me to do whatever I want in the film, like as a director? So would you give me a chance to make whatever I want? Isn't it kind of the reason to be in conflict relations? Well, yes, it is. It is a certain reason for the conflict. But I can say that it's not so convenient when people who are working with you, for instance, the scriptwriter is a very distinguished and remarkable person who feels the dialogues very perfectly and understands how the picture should move, and you can't even add anything that you would like to. So that's the awful thing, that the directors writing everything for themselves. And once I actually did it for myself and stopped doing that anymore, because you need to be a part of the dialogue. The more serious person you are taking for writing dialogues, so the more energy he brings to that, the more fruitful picture you have. So you have a lot of chances that the viewers would be really smart who are going to watch your movies. So it happens now in the modern films, and that happens with every film. It's not only about my movies that I'm talking about. So that should be a certain rule for you. You need to invite people who could be opposing to you, who can even impose their opinion in your film, and that would be much better. That will be kind of interesting work, brings a certain conflict, even suffering, and maybe you can be disgraced somehow. Still, it is very fruitful activity, and that will be a chance for you to think about this process, that you can't provide anything in to respond. So the actor actually would think about a certain activity and task, very hard work that is almost difficult to fulfill. So the more interesting and distinguishing people you are bringing, especially when you can attract them into your project, like for instance Evgeny, he was the sound designer already when he was invited to my work, and he had his own voice and style already. So at the same time I need to charm him somehow, to bring him a certain rules, to bring him certain interesting frames of work for him to come to me, not just to play with my work, with my film, but at the same time to be ready with the conflict and to be ready to oppose to me. And he managed to bring that kind of energy into that, and that's the ideal picture for the work. So just remember, I never mentioned the total result, but everything comes from above, like from heaven, and that would be very worthy work, and you need to bring this kind of challenge, and you don't need to bring for the voice recording or like on post-production sounds to bring some kind of directors and people who would actually give you pieces of advice. Just not let them do that. So maybe you can lie them, you can charm them, maybe even make a scandal. It doesn't matter. So only you and sound designer together understand actually and realize what the picture is really needed for that, for this performance. And only in these solutions and conditions you can get nice results. So at the end we actually working together did the same. We got that's what I'm talking about. So when we showed it to the producers and actors who were watching that, so never Zhenya and me and Vladimir Markovich, we never allowed that just to give to judge it to them. So we checked every line, of course, we checked every sound, but nobody was, pushing my elbow in order to say that you should write it in that way or you should do it in this way. So no, never happened like that. So you actually producer, for instance, you have a lot of stuff to do. You have a lot of other people to work with, to think about it a lot. So you don't need to give me pieces of advice about actors and actually doing my work instead of me. So just go and do something else. So I'm in my creative process. I don't understand what kind of person I really need, and the producer actually tells me what kind of person I need to do. For instance, like Petrenko, artist, because he's just a media person. No, it's not like that. You should follow your line. You should keep it to your ideas, and you need to avoid these kind of things. You need just to have your own ground while you're working on this project, on your films. So you need just to claim your own ideas, feelings, knowledges, even cultural level, your cinematographic experience, especially if you have what to show. So one more question. So you mentioned that cultural level. For instance, like I can show it to the sound designer, and actually just echo it in my cell right now.
На самом деле тут ничего обидного нет, потому что я-то это испытываю
There is
всегда.
nothing kind of pity thing about that. I experience it every time.
В какое-то серьезное дело, в какое-то произведение.
Especially when you are plunged into very serious work.
Мне кажется, что это глупо чувствовать себя, что я все знаю, как.
That's really silly situation if a person believes that he knows absolutely everything. It's very important for us to like match to each other and to bring all those emotions and feelings that we are trying to cover or uncover in the film. Is the cooperative work that takes a lot of time, more time than we usually are working in the studio and testing and probing this or that effect. So this kind of topic is very important, and so I thought that if we have the workshop today right now, so we just need to speak about that. But the fact is that with every film we have our own impressions, and we need somehow to formulate this idea or put it into the words for you. So that takes us a lot of time, and you need somehow to understand it. It's you know that you can't work together for 2 months. It should be maybe a longer period, just a huge volume and load of work. And if you want to call yourself like the co-author of the picture, you need to go from the first line up to the end. So when especially you don't have even the auditions and kind of testing and probing with all the equipment. So still at the very, very beginning you need to start work already with everything if you want to have very serious and fruitful works. Luckily, together with Svetlana, we managed to do several works, and we worked from the very beginning of the project, and it was, I can call it like the really long period. For instance, with the film Resurrection, then we had the New Year period with holidays, and I had time somehow to relax and read some more books, and that was a very difficult and challenging task that Svetlana asked me to do, and she usually put it in different words and every time in different ways. And when we start talking about this cooperation, we understood that the language that we're talking together is very important. The language between the director and sound designer. I have my own resources like timbre, like velocity of sounds, and maybe arrangements of the sounds. So some technical things. So actually, I was like two.
So again, the language. Every time we need a special language, and I have to translate the information from my director and this inner interpretation to transfer into the sounds and to check does this composition work well or not. Just I have one thing that I do remember. It was the question about the first meeting with the director. Just reading a script is not enough. Of course, when we met for the first time and before watching the film, I read the script, and there are different approaches, but it's very important for me to read before, especially when you are involved only in the post-production period, because you have to read and just try to visualize the script, and then you have a look at the footage and you compare. So the director took her album of illustrations. It was a great one, and we started talking about sounds. So it was a great book to demonstrate and ask me to just give me. She shared her ideas. What exactly texture she wanted in a concrete theme, and so this like connection is very important in our collaboration. And as for the volume and how to fill yourself with new ideas and to being able to translate into the sounds. So the aim was formulated as on the credits. When the screen is black, viewers have to understand that the story will be difficult. It's not kidding. So the style of the screen has to be obvious. Of course, viewers have their own freedom to understand, but first 3 minutes are very important for viewers because they give viewers idea: is it time just to stand up and go home, or stay in the theater hall? And it's very important from the very beginning, from the first minutes, to demonstrate your personal style. And this process, to develop this process, I watched the film, and I went on thinking, because the film had been just finished, and and it was a period of New Year, and I had time to stay at home. And quite suddenly, when I was at home, so I was ready to perceive any artistic content. And at that time, when I had some free time, I got the book by Andreev.
Понятно, что название картины «Воскресенье», даже если вы
And
не видели,
don't forget
вообще
that
слово «воскресенье» для людей европейской культуры, оно много в
so
чем
the content of their film is connected with the people with European
определенный путь героя,
education, style, culture,
Голгофу и так далее. Все вот эти слова.
and all the words
Не
connected
то, что я
with the
специально
life of
взял
the
просто
Jesus
вперед библейскую тему,
and all those
но
Bible
совершенно случайно
stories.
мне вдруг в
I
тексте
suddenly,
этой книжки
in the text of the
пришел
book,
ответ на
I
вопрос,
got the answer
что же там надо сделать.
what
Это на самом деле
what
очень важная
I
история,
had
потому
to do,
что порой писатели,
what is the
они
solution.
очень тонко, к этому надо очень
So
внимательно относиться. Там,
you have to be very
заметно,
attentive
Марк
to
Чехов
some
есть,
remarks,
там, к тому, как Марсель
to
Пруст
some
пишет о
digressions.
описании
For
звука.
example, the digressions
Конечно, иногда
made
эти
by
вещи, они
Chekhov
дают
or
огромные подсказки.
Proust,
Можно я прям
because
просто
they give you
прочитаю
some hints or
кусочек, который
tips.
мне попался для фильма
And let me
«Воскресенье»,
read.
где Андреев мне написал, что мне нужно сделать.
So
для
just
того,
let me
чтобы
read the part
вот эту
from that
затею
book,
Светланы Николаевны реализовать.
just to realize the idea of the director.
Там история в том, что Иуда уже предал Христа, и Христа уже ведут на
So
голову.
Jesus Christ was taken to the execution, but before the text, I want to say one thing, that it's a quite modern film, and the question is not about the what sounds and how do they sound. There is no straight association with that book, and it's like a great achievement of Evgeny. So here is the sound art. The body has been conquered, so literally, and I'm very grateful for that remark. So it's very important not what makes it sound, but how. Because the feeling of sound perspective is important, because sound gets its sound, so its volume in a context. And how does it learn? There is only one sentence.
Когда был поднят молот, чтобы пригвоздить к дереву левую руку Иисуса, Иуда закрыл глаза.
So when they were eager to and ready to kill the Jesus, Iuda closed his eyes, and he heard as the metal penetrates the wood. So here it's like sound exploitation of how it happened. It's not about deforestation or just tree cutting. So it's just the beginning of the process, and your cultural level, of any concrete person, helps to perceive this scene and just an attempt to visualize it. And the question is, if you have watched and liked my films, but I do all my best to make you remember my films, and it's the reaction to you can even not like, but even hate my films, but I want you stay alive. I want you to react emotionally, because you have to make people feel anxious, feel worried, because only sufferings help you to stay alive. Sorry for my interaction. And being anxious is very important for sound designers during filmmaking, and I always a bit worried, anxious.
Даже если эта тема, над которой ты вот эти там
And it's very important when you work over the theme for half of a year, and you have to make the theme yours, because if not, there will be no positive result. It's my understanding or my attitude to the profession. Even during my school life, one of my teachers recommended me. There is an article written by Mikhail Mikhailovich Bakhtin, and what do you do? It's like a fraction of what you do. So it's just the article from the, it is a line from that article, one sentence from that article, and it's very important for my life because it changed a lot in my life, especially in my interaction with people.
It's important to do it by yourself, and you will do it. Since we're adults and you're students, Brodsky told us when the poem and all your task become you and nothing happened else around you, it doesn't matter that you lack of family or love, it covers you in the whole. So it depends on the point of view. The language makes you, and you don't have to reflect a lot about your work. You have to everything you can show to the people and to the work you do. It's quite primitive, but still. That can be some kind of sentence which was taken from somewhere. So she said, she was quite elderly woman. She said, the best director I had was Pushkin. So yes, that's true. But speaking about the actors, they are so wild, they're so unstable, and there is a play in it. When nothing was next to me, I like to touch the book, to feel the smell of it. I started to look through the Captain Daughter, which was written by Pushkin. So you have to search everything in the... It was interesting how Pushkin created the scenes, how he interfere it in the whole poem. It's wonderful. He is great director and great editor and great sound designer, because the way it sounds, it's pure magic. So we can find something to learn in everything. So please don't be tired. So don't let yourself be tired. So do everything till the very end. So you have to be like a maniac. You have to follow your idea until the very start and to the very end. So in other way you don't have to start, because that would be useless. So Evgenia, I'm sorry. So I want to say something important. I want to say about the harmony and enviness and how you calm me down. It's important that people of one style, of one sphere, it's important to. So the level of your culture have to be the same between the director and sound director, because you work together. So if we're talking about the relations between the director and sound director, as I said, sound directing is some kind of therapy. In each picture, the speech can be heard in any way possible. So it's not about the moment when we met Svetlana and we do not understand each other. She tells me one, I understand it in my way. Because we have to work together and communicate and collaborate together and have the same level of understanding what we are going to create. Every time it's a challenge for us how to do the same thing, but having different points of view. So it's important to say to create some kind of images, I have to have some kind of hearing memories to show the particular emotions which you as a director gave me as a task. And from when I create something, I can rely on my rememberings from my childhood and adapt it to the work. And when I try to remember some things from my childhood, for example, like drops going down, I hear the sound of it when I was at the countryside at my grandmother. I have to understand it and I have to adapt it to the picture we create. So it works something like that. So sorry, I'm talking about books every time. They help us to remember something, to resume something from our childhood. You know about some moments when you hear something and you don't want to. Evgeny already understands that I don't understand his language, his sound design language. It's not that pleasant moment. We cannot call it as a conflict, but we have this moment and we have to cope with it anyway. I will not tell you that I don't understand you, but it doesn't mean that I don't want to understand what you are going to say. And I'm not paying any attention to the words he may say to me. And so actors works pretty good, especially those which I worked with. When we change the essence and when we try to record it in a different way, we record many times. Everyone, but I'm not really into record it many times. Everyone have to know what he's going to do. And when we start to listen, at the same moment we have to understand, and we understand that that would be the end of the recording, because we understand that every part of it become as one. So yeah, we work together and we understand without words that that would be the end. It's more about the way we work and the way we understand each other. But it's a great pleasure for me when we on the same wave. When we it's great when we can show the same without even telling each other that what we have to choose. So we have a certain habits between the team members. It happens like the same as in the family, because people are dealing with each other every day, and they just try to cover some kind of things and hide them from each other, and actually it happens the regular thing, and actually maybe we shouldn't do that like that, and let us remember Vladimir Markovich Persov once again. He was such a great master, and I remember that I quite often felt like the little fool in front of him, and I actually managed to, to tell him that that's the time for us to depart and to work separately, and I even didn't know whom I was going to do my next work with, and maybe nobody would understand me like he did, and nobody would recognize my films like he did. But working with him, continue working with him, I understood that I couldn't be received and perceived fully as I wanted. He actually took it and forgave me. And sometime later he actually called me, and I think Zhenya called me and told me that it was so nice to work with me. So can you imagine if I just, if it happened with me, I would never look in the person's way. I never forgave him for that. Never. I would never do that. I would never do it. And so he actually managed to do that. He was such a great master. So I ask you and advise you to search for these particular great people like Persov was, and there's such a great support. It's such a great support, like Lev Tolstoy in literature, like your mother in your childhood, and the same story as you just walk through the whole night, and afterwards parents scold you for that. But anyway, still, they are really great supporters. Just sorry that just I was such a fool. So, whatever you say right now, it just echoed in me in such a way. And what you've said about the filming and pictures that we made, and that you have close people that you try to hide your true emotions from them. And when you said and compared it with the family relationships, that it started like that. And when you try to do something in your own way, you try to somehow try to be cunning and foxy, and you try to manipulate the relationships. You just nod or shake your head depending on the situation. It's not like we actually make the voiceover for the whole actors. For the last projects that we did, we usually changed one word, for instance, just because we didn't like the full intonation for the line. Or, for instance, I take another actor, for instance, who is a totally like numb actor or like silent actor, and he actually started challenging him by different difficult tasks, and actually sometimes I ask them to do whatever he couldn't even experience. The whole background that he had, like smile, the play that he could perform, so everything was just mine, and I thought that I would never do it, but it was so nicely to watch how other people could do that, and to see that people are much better what we think about them. And like God knows what to give, what talents give to people, and the actor made such a great effort. He tried all his best. He refused for many things, and he just was working, and people were talking to me that actually that particular actor was working with you like 24 hours. He never ordered any kind of, any kind of things. They have, all of them have writers, and when you just read all those stories, and the actor was living in together with our filming crew. He was totally, constantly with us, and he actually expressed his own opinion that he wanted to be with the whole crew, the filming crew. And he showed such a great effort and desire to work on such a project, and he managed to do just marvelous performances. And that's on the director of like sound designer, when they played on that doing voiceover, so that was also interesting. So you had such a not that particular intonation, so please do 10 push-ups, and afterwards you can start that line again, and that was performed absolutely without any questions. And that's the point actually, when you curious about, when you try to overcome yourself, and don't be afraid of some really difficult and challenging solutions, because they help you to go further, and that make your profession really worthy. And maybe you don't show it to everyone, just be like that and act like that. So I would like to also bring to the point about the family relationships, as you mentioned right now. I also have my own experience, and I can share about that kind of cunning emotions when I had it between the family members. Well, in my experience, I don't have such situations like that. In past, I really like to get married, and I wasn't so, like sturdy and a winner in these kind of relationships. So I can't share anything about that. I have only defeats here, unfortunately. Well, when you give me a task to do, and there is a certain conflict and opposition between us, so, and in this case, you try to maybe come from the different point. And yes, that happens sometimes, like my dog behaves quite often when the dog understands that it can't get that food that he wants, and he tries to get it with the other ways, and maybe come from different side, and make some kind of maybe flips, and actually his whole nature resists mine. And I would tell him like in a kind of really thick voice that, well, you can, but you can't, or just be surprised. And I still show kind of respect and care for it. And I also try to, it's like, like bypass, we try to give that kind of treat for the dog, and actually it understands what I'm trying to, and even the dog understands what I'm wanting, that kind of play with it, and somehow it understands. And in this particular moment we got a certain harmony. And as for my profession, unfortunately, this kind of insisting and persistence in this particular style of working was really, well, affected my love, because actually I'm a girl and I should be a little bit softer and nicer, but actually if you don't want to be so solid, sturdy, and maybe somehow capricious in a certain way. So in this case, you should be avoid directing profession. So it becomes part of your life, part of you. And if something happens in not that way that usually happens in even everyday life, just I still try to put my professional experience into that, and I even try to pacify myself that that's not the point right now to be and act in that way. Especially for women, it takes them certain effort to gain that another type of character and nature. So if I just have known that earlier that I actually should put my life into that, so maybe I would have thought about it differently. So I can tell you another interesting story, like it's not part of the maybe psychiatry and deals with certain impressions. We are going to partly certain topic about conflict and harmony.
So there is a conflict between a director and sound designer, and there is a different conflict between a sound designer and just visualization of the script. It's actually a triangle, and from this point of view you have to be attentive and hear very attentively. Don't be dull, don't be typical or standard, because the wind will help you go in the right way, just to follow the ideas of the director Sakurov. So you have to look for your own artistic implementation and your personal style, and your style must be obvious and powerful. You have to remember all different sounds, just sounds of different mixing, how to produce sounds. But it's just not my case. I just sound designer's work. But I do understand that he's quite talented person. He's a great creator, and he can work with me. But in any case, you have to be eager to hear. And when we work on a project and we start just during the pre-production, when we read the script and then try to visualize, and we have sound, different sounds for the concrete scene. I have some additional versions because I want to hear just a boy far from the camera riding a bike, and then just a sound of wind. Maybe I will not need it later, but I do want to have it. So if I talk about our cooperation on their film, when we are talking about additional background, just not only foreground, because we are interested to know what happens in the forest or just behind the forest. So, and we just it just on the artistic way, and then we start understanding that the film starts having its own like demands and own sound, its own sounds, and the balance is different. It's about being cunning. Sometimes you have to watch or rewatch the film with your director again and don't change anything, and you will find your balance. So it's just only my way to work. We are talking about some tips, so for sound designers would be interesting not not only what, but how. And for Svetlana Nikolaevna, I used artificial sounds. Just when we have to integrate a line of an actor, if it is just not appropriate for the scene, I use different intonation to make it less artificial, just to find the harmony. So I add a bit space, and Svetlana Nikolaevna says, "Oh, that's the right line," and it also can work. Sorry that I do reveal such secrets, and I like when I insist on my opinion, on my way, and I like when Zhenya in a very low voice say no when he refuses to follow my advice or my orders, and it's a signal for me. Okay, it's something different at the beginning of the conflict, but this approach can be used not very frequently, just once or two times, but for me it's a good signal, and I try to stop and to understand why he's against, and I understand that yes, it's my mistake. Do you have any questions, or maybe we'll find more interesting themes to discuss?
Или что-то, может быть, мы как-то так просто общаемся, может быть, мы какие-то вещи не проговорили, не
Maybe you want to cover more issues, so we went and we can.
Спасибо, Паша.
Начинается.
I have a question to Svetlana. The question is simple, it's difficult to answer. First of all, what is good sound for you in the cinema? I always have this question in my mind and the answers of different people of that industry. And since we always work with the directors, it's interesting for me how you would describe a good sound in your words. And Evgeny, I have a question for you. What is good sound for you in the film? And do I have to leave the scene when Svetlana will reply? Svetlana, do you sing some kind of things to Evgeny when you want to create some kind of sound? You use some intonations, or you describe the thing you want to create with just using just words. When I was going to St. Petersburg, I read Pelevin, and I remember the phrase that philosophers think not only the shadow of the object, and that the object is not really exist. So I understand your question. So you are out of context about the Pelevin, so since he wants to know the question, the answer we will answer. So what is good sound for me? It's first of all the picture which is not follow the visual space. What I can see, I can hear. I have to hear. It's important for me that the huge amount of levels work together in merge with the picture. I want some kind of a pie. I want the maximum. I want to impress the person who watch the picture. I want influence on the emotions, and the most important thing is to see the hidden things. And even though it can be not seen really, but you have to have these hidden ideas in it. So it's important for me the huge amount of levels of sounds and the associations in it. I don't really use original music and sounds, even though I have two composers next to me. In Sunday we have used some kind of sounds like violin, just a little bit, and I'm not really want to use it. So music in the film is something. We use music in the film when we want to hide something which was not created in a good way. So the better composer we have, the worse music we gain from him. So if you have some problems and mistakes, you try to cover it with music, and it's in some way destroying for the film. So I decided to do not use music in the film, and I want to rely on the picture, on the narrative, stylistic unity and levels of sounds. So it's always the picture. For me, it's good when we have variety of sounds in the picture, but not the music. So the sound design in the film is the best of all the film. So I can remember it and replay it in my mind. So it can be philosophical in some way, but everything was placed in that music, not the music, but the sound. It's wonderful. It's a huge understanding of the light through the sounds. You don't have nothing but to enjoy it. And I don't really remember the second question. Can you repeat it once again, please?
Да, это Кирилл Васильевич. Да, конечно. Понятно, да. Я думала, что это все знают, простите. Это я чувствую. Выпускник данного института.
So I'm a graduate from this university. So it's wonderful. So the next question was about how you describe what you want to have, what you want to get from the sound designer. Do you sing it or you express it in some other way? So everything is in my hands. I use everything. I start with, in the scenario, I write every episode for everyone, for the actors, for the sound designers, for the cameramen, for everyone in the group. Plus, I use some photos, some references, some color palettes, some choose the color which we want to be the main in the pictures, what references in books, what references in films we need to learn before we start. And I also have an experience when some of the members of the group told me and retell me everything which he have to learn before we start. And I described why I wanted him to do so. So it's pretty hard feeling for us which we always used to be covered with. So when you talk to someone not on the same level, you have to be at the same stage, otherwise you cannot work together. So to clean up something which was made by the other person is harder rather than to create the thing you want it to be together. So the way I explain depends on me, and the way he understands also depends on me. I don't know what about the sound designers, but every actor wants to be shooted in my films. Also, I work with cameramans and actors, and we watch many books to understand the references. I book a lot of books from 20s to 70s, from prisoners who were killed. So when we sit together and we have to analyze how the image is created.
And it never appeals in the movies afterwards, and it actually acts in a very nice way when you deal with the actors on the set. We watch films together, we discuss music together, and it helps us understand in what tonality we should be. And I actually bake some pies and we eat it together, and actually behind these pies we have some more relationship, and we have so-called pure relationship, what I can say. And everyone prepares to a certain particular and a very important mission, and nobody, make a caricature, and people behave in that way as they are while they are eating and drinking. And I bring some books that I have at my home, and they all also look at these pictures and they ask me, do you want that particular blue color that this book presents for the police uniform, for instance? And I say yes or no. And everything suits, everything suits. Whatever you have in your cultural background. Even you can sing the song by Uspенская. Everything you can use. Well, your story is very tasty right now. I give a little comment about sound designing here. Sorry for butting in. Just to hum the melody, as you offered in your question, that means that I need to repeat it somehow. It's not so interesting for me as I can interpret it instead. As for being an artist, it's more interesting for me to convert it into another audio image, not just the full repetition as you asking about that. So the images from the pictures are more clear for me than just what you're explaining about the sounds. Well, I still have some more questions to Svetlana, and let's continue talking with her. She's quite passionate in her answers. As being like an artist, you mentioned that an artist shouldn't be bored, and the task is to interpret it and to bring it into the picture. That's really hard. Being an artist, I can understand it's difficult to draw sometimes with the things that you can't make it. And working on my projects, there were some things that was really difficult to perform, and the question is if you have these kind of similar things, like if you go to some extremes, like what you offer to me, I don't like it. But what I actually want to see, I also don't know. So, do you have a kind of middle part or golden part in here? Well, you know, you just told the very truth about my work. I understand it fully, but I try not to work like that. You know, I can compare myself like half of a peasant and half of a German. It's not just my ethnical origin, but I mean that I am trying to say exactly what I want to show it to them. Maybe it sounds a little bit vague and unclear right now, because I'm always in conflict with myself, and sometimes these kind of lines and cues for the films goes not so laconically, and I don't discuss it with these script writers. I try to work with really good script writers, but actually I interfere into the script every time just because I'm totally influenced on their work. And just because of this idea that I can do that, I have a certain point that here it is the script and here it is the some footage, and we're starting to work. Nothing is sound, no sounds here. But at the same time, we have the script plays, then we have director's script, and you know, during different castings and testings, that's more than 700 times I've already watched and listened to that, and I just had a lot of reflections and a lot of things. I know absolutely everything, and I need some other energy, some more fresh energy that would allow me to make some excitement about this. I really want to have some other people's energy, just because I want to see how my picture could be decorated or adorned by these other people's interpretations, and particularly if we are dealing with the male's interpretations. Just maybe girls don't like it, but I agree with the Bunin's comment here that when a man works, he actually is still in touch. He is in touch with God, comparing to what women are doing. So that's the point. I'm always in search of talented and energetic people who would like to work with me, who would like to listen to me, but at the same time they are able to be themselves and show their voice in my works. And that's the point. When, if it's possible to preserve this artistic freedom, that's really nice. I don't know if I answered your question, but this is what I feel it. So let's see, Evgenia answered this particular question, if you have such a good sound in the film. So while she was answering her question, I actually understood that if I'm right and if I have the same, I believe I have the same. I can say that. Well, yes, I would have a lot of students here. I think that would be interesting for them.
No, I just. I'm not very eager to just to use more common words. Sorry, there is always interpretation, because in any creative work we as an author formulate our own world and let viewers get their own interpretation, but it's not about the time. It's very important. It's both for children, for young filmmakers. Even making a new film, don't forget that within 3-year period, your film will be just old-fashioned, will be old. And think about the costume design, about anything. For For example, we take classical music, for example, composed by Rachmaninov. And there is nothing to discuss who is the first or who is the second. But if I want to integrate one part of Rachmaninov's work, I'm sure to take Sokolov or any other musician, because Rachmaninov is recorded in the way that it sounds a bit old-fashioned, and the sound is different. Your emotions get to the past in you, but you have to be alive. You have to feel this new wave. So just, I don't know if space is more important than time. It's more important detail for filmmaking than any conversation about time. So if you make a film about 60s, I mean the period, historical period, it's not about using some special hairstyle. So you have to make your own visualization of a concrete period. So just and now don't forget about piece of clothes that is appropriate for the concrete period. There is no time for the film industry. So my great recommendation is to avoid quite modern or up-to-date pieces of clothes and accessories, because filmmaking or the film shouldn't have manifestations of a time, because our emotions are not connected with time. And again, if we're talking about the space, we have to formulate, to create our own space. It's not about only films, it's about architecture, it's about literary. And if I talk about sound design, space is also important from physical point of view, because sound provocates or just disturbs everything around, and the space where it sounds. So it can be different sounds, different music, different ambience, sounds of ambience, but what is more important, how we realized this ambience with sounds in the film. What other thing that is also is the perception of the sound in films, and my own perception is very important and has been changing. And one thing that is very important for me as a sound designer, that is based on many mistakes that I committed in documentary films, is how to create a sound ambience. Every time I tried to create as if it were a microphone or recorded by microphone or by camera, but they are not ideal tools for recording, and you can't eliminate unnecessary sounds or noises. And I do hear people who are living now the concert hall, but I understand that it's very important for sound designer, it's just a fact, for the ability of a human ear to perceive concrete things For example, if you're in a noisy place, but you will hear the conversation between young couple because you are more like you like the girl, and coming back to the specific things of being a sound designer is just being able to work with the space and to highlight that is more important, that is appropriate for the visual part, and if it is done if it is done like in a perfect way, in a smooth way. So I hope answer your question.
So, do we have any other questions? We have a little time. So, don't be shy to ask stupid questions. So, the one who asks stupid questions, they get more information. Good evening. So I listened very attentively what you were saying, and I have a feeling of fulfillment. And I had a feeling that there were said a lot of things about emotions, about the conflicts, perception, feelings again, own experience, and so on and so forth. And I have a question. How you cope with the conflict of emotions and your mind. It's interesting to listen because we have two, at least in my mind, two spaces, space of emotions and space of something logical, systematic. And Svetlana, you also said that you a person of a system. So how you cope with the emotions? How you solve these problems? Thank you. So this question is not stupid at all. So I think I have to think a little how I solve it. So I start with my own conflict into myself. So some cultural and stylistic levels also works with at the very beginning. If you protect it in some way with the cultural level, you will return to it anyway. So if you prefer to do something extraordinary or interesting or free, and if you decide to do it, you will do it, and you will not follow something ritualic. You will not choose some right music, right melody for it. If you have, and you have it usually, this conflict, you have two ways. Your cultural level is on it covers you from the conflict. It helps you to solve this conflict of emotions and mind. You will always choose the one which is more comfortable for you rather than something individual, something wild. So you don't have to worry about it. You will never be mistaken about it. You will show it either complete idiots or geniuses. If you if you follow the rules, you have to be afraid about another thing. You don't have to be afraid of doing mistakes. You will not do it in any way. So you would rather choose something better than something worse. So it always works like that. So if producers would not interfere into your work, so they work in a different sphere, so it's always about different things, not about the film. So recently I listened to the interview in the internet, some person, I don't really know him, so he said, I always thought, who makes the color for the films? So don't you think that we have to protect it? So you think to understand so how could we do it in a so primitive way? So they spoiled a lot of pictures, films. So that person answered. So we colored the film about the war. So the picture is unique. It have to be. It have to stay the way it was made. It's about the fears of war. It's about men who can be killed in any moment. So we pay tribute to that picture, even though it's not the best director's work. So they give color to it. It's impossible to watch. It's awful. So that man replied, so we do it because we want to attract young people. So that man we want to ask, do you think it really works? Do you think that young people are going to watch it because it's colored with some colors? So do you think that black and white picture do not give you any emotions? So there are many responsibilities it depends. Everything depends on you. Whatever you choose, whatever wardrobe you choose, it's on you. So if we imagine the scene when the boy sits in front of the wardrobe, the cameraman understands that it doesn't really work. So only crazy director can put the actor on the first scene. So the director chooses some kind of things to put on the wardrobe. It shifted the attention to the viewer, and it makes the situation even worse. So cameramen have to tell in that situation that we have to take this wardrobe out of the scene, or he could say that he will not work here today with that scene. So it's all about our choice. So he have to be sure about the work he do. So it's all about the choice. So always remember about your question. I really like it. So the choice, and remember that the choice of every person who works on the picture influence the quality of the picture, of the film. Everything you do influence the film. So I have another risky idea.
женщины вообще быстрее утрачивают, плоть нас
So-
быстрее подводит просто. Не так быстро, как быстрее, чем мужчин.
The woman
Я
who
не думала даже, что она
I didn't even think that that actress could do what I want her to do. I don't really think that she will agree to do so. First of all, she's a bad actress, but she was famous. And at the very end, we have that wonderful woman who was the bravest person on the shooting. She was ready for absolutely everything. No one ever asked her to do so, but she showed everything we didn't expect, and she believed us, and she wants to join us. I was really shocked, and I'm still in contact with her. I didn't really expect that I can get her. And what she have done in the picture, we started that she said, I don't want to go to Mosfilm, I will go to film somewhere else. So I thought that it's not a good idea. And when we discussed something, she came to Mosfilm and created everything I wanted, and did it in the best way. So be sure what you are doing. So and answer the questions you asked. So I talked to that actress a lot, and I do it before we go to the rehearsal of the scene. She didn't really understand what I can do for her, how can I help her, but she believed in me. And when we came to the rehearsal, she was as a child, like a child. She was ready for everything. She was like a little girl, and I was like an adult. And she wants some help from me and do everything to listen to me. It's a real wonder. So it's a great actress, Vera Valentinovna.
Should I give an answer as well? I don't think I can give a long comment here. So where are you? Okay, so the question was the point about the logic and conflict, if I can put it in a short way. I think that I'm that part of the way that it could be changeable for me. In most cases, I mostly follow the emotions, and I think I just follow only logic. Well, I have this kind of connection between emotions and improvisation, and I think that's the main word here, to improvise. When you work with the footage, you need to deal with improvisation, and logic is out of this process. That's the short answer of mine. Svetlana, your answer gave me an idea for another question. You mentioned that wardrobe, that case that was shown in the film, and I usually call it like a certain toys for different professions, like for instance for prop masters, for designers, and so on. Maybe that kind of wardrobe should be in there. And you pointed that the cameraman wasn't so insisting on taking that prop away. So I call it actually like these types of props like toys, and there are so plenty of them. And I usually call one of the aspects like geographical planning, like perspective, like geographical perspective. Everything what you have in far away, it's like small and in a distance. And well, depends. What do we have? Like documentary or maybe kind of home video. So, what kind of toys, if I can say so, for sound designers you have, and maybe you don't like it as a sound designer? Well, I tell right now the awful thing, but I believe that sometimes the super technological equipment becomes the great minus in our work. It's just a very negative effect. For instance, I would like to make a film that would be sounded not in Dolby sound. And I'm very often irritated by the not so well thought of level of sound. And for instance, in the picture, if I have kind of bird sounds, and in the foreground people are doing some kind of actions, and at the same time they do synchronizing fully. So you know, maybe it's a kind of the tip, or for the viewers that we could be somehow plunged into that atmosphere. It doesn't work totally. So in this case, I actually don't like these things, and I'm really afraid of these aggressive, but at the same time very marvelous technical things. I usually believe more into a human being, and I remember how working with Vladimir Persov, we recorded several tracks, and every time came into the hall in order to check it how it would be in the screen, on the screen, in order to understand what kind of feeling it creates. Let me explain to you. That means 6 channels. That was actually 6 tracks we had it. And of course I was like totally crazy about this obvious meaning. And it's just such a silly thing when the audience and the viewers understand absolutely everything, and we're still continuing giving some hints and tips for understanding, for further understanding in the picture. So actually I like to speak, in a soft voice. I'm a person, if I can say, like on the periphery, understanding or conscious. So not in the province area, like Kasimov area. So I want to be somewhere sideways, and that helps me to consider the closest people, not to follow the whole crowd, and to see the people's desires and wants. Just in many ways, a lot of people could be very aggressive and shameful, and so actually I really like to be somewhere on the side, and just maybe I just treat it like the periphery knowledge and conscious, and I like to concentrate on the certain secrets and a certain mystery, to be very accurate, and maybe to be very specific in certain words. And now every child is said that you should, you must, you have to do this and that, that you're not so rich, that you're not working so hard. These all kind of rubbish things still. I think that diverts us a lot. And still I cannot say what does it mean a good wine is, or a good brand thing is. So, but it shouldn't be like a sign or a marker for a person, especially if we're talking about his inner side. And that's why I want to stay somewhere sideways, and to be a little bit out of the process, because maybe it helps me to somehow save my true self. Just being on this stage right now, I just presenting only myself. It's not just I'm giving some maxima, but I just explain it just my own point of view. And this is what I told you at the very beginning, that coming out of this hall, you'll bring with you only one particular idea, maybe one particular phrase. So we are not those people who will tell you exactly what to do. No. So I think it's like that. So thank you for your answer. I also a little bit translated for myself that like something sound impressionism. Well, it's so nice that you interpret our explanations into the other artistic terminology, because it will be helpful for students to see it in a certain way. So still I want to explain that we can combine maybe the images. For instance, you could see how the person is working, and you can hear these taps and how the dog barks, and the impressionist as the designer should give you more space, to give you more freedom for breathing in this film, and that's the notion for the young generation. And now we have a question from Natalia.
So I was very impressed when I saw you, and my first impression is that you are quite strong-willed. And my question is about the conflict. If you are being a strong-willed, strict person, so have you ever been sorry for being in a conflict with a sound designer? So just I ask this question, and I think about my own situation, because sometimes I did have conflicts. Maybe you will be surprised, but during my whole life and experience, starting with a driver till producers, I never had conflicts in the meaning that you have. It means that I don't try to win and to make people follow my way, but I have my own team. I formed my team about 20 years ago, and only Evgenia joined our team several years ago. And I, with the director Alexander Sakurov, we had the same team. When he finished the film, I started my own project with the same people, and our team members, they worked in the different atmosphere. And when we're talking about the conflict, it's not about being a quarrel. We're talking about being persuasive. When we have two different firm artistic solutions, and we try to choose which one is the right. So it's not about being rude and quarreling, no, because even during the pre-production stage, when there is a stranger in our team, when a person is absolutely different, we can't work with him. How this person has been hired? And I asked this question to my producer, and my producer explained that this person is just not strange, but he's exhausted because he has finished 40 series film, and we need just a different person. We like a family, we like a relative, we are like relatives. We can't be in a conflict. If I behave with and treat my film crew members like you, as you mean, so it will be a failure. So we are united with artistic trembling. We can get tired of each other, but it is the only exception when we had with Vladimir, and it was the situation when I had to change a person, but all other people are just for just long life period. Yes, I'm a bit different person. I live in a village, and when just unexpected things happen, I can be very, very rude, especially when like common people just start fighting. But I can stop any form of quarreling. But where I live, there is only harmony because I need air to breathe, and the same for my team. And all our conflicts are based only on artistic things. I do hope that they do perceive the situation as I do. And one more question. There is my student, and you talked about clothes that so you in the film you shouldn't that you shouldn't choose clothes for the concrete period for your actors, but the question is about it's not obligatory, it's like prohibited. But in the period of 80s there were no foreigners, and this part was the situation is in the film of my student, and we had arguments about that. But sometimes when we're talking about artistic solutions, they do not correspond to the real situation, and I'm always on the part of artistic solution. So, and if you need a mobile phone even in the 80s of the previous century, if this solution is quite needed, because don't forget that we have lots of lack of knowledge, of experience, about in choosing frames or actors. And I'm talking about it's very important because I'm talking about the director's choice, because it's a responsibility of director to choose the right person about lighting, because it is what that has sense. So the question is that directors are different, and yes, it's very important that directors are different. If I change tools in different films, for example, in a war film we gave a different type of rifle for your character, so it would be like a quarrel conflict. But it's my decision. I don't want just to spare time, and I can't teach any actor. I have my own unique way of working with actors, but maybe it helps only me. So, what are you talking about, Vernik? Don't you think that is his way of defending his behavior?
No, it's not about that. I know them too good. So I know them as my own children. It's not because of that. It's the style which I gained within the time, and I let myself work like that. It's some kind of my second skin. So I will not defend him in any way. So it's not about the defense. You cannot say in any word to him. So he's dangerously, he kind of a winner. He's powerful man. So he plays in heart. So I respect him, and I respect him for his changing. Not many people can. So not many people who have that level of life and that life experience. So we some kind of newcomers in this way. So we kind of researchers, we can do everything with no noise at all. So that's why I'm talking. So it's his decision to interfere in the energy of other person. So that's why I respect him. So I saw him as white teeth and smile, and that's it. And that he have a car, the very brand new. I'm sorry, I just admitted some important things, and I want to add something about some things which are not really into the space. You said that everything depends on the context. The same thing is for the sound. In sound design, there are many things which cannot be replaced. So, when you take the sound of waterfall or fire, and when you choose the sound of waterfall and see the picture of the fire and merge them together, it's unbelievable. And the same about the sounds which can be louder or not so loud. So you can do it. So one more example about the film. So at the very last stage, we saw a white dress, and we heard some interesting sound which was created by the veil. It was incredible. It was some kind of a bird which it sounds like a bird. So my husband brings it to me. So that was my first expensive thing. But when Alla Sokolova appeared on the screen, and we tried to find what she had to wear to that particular scene, and we decided to choose this piece of cloth. So it works in the best way. Alla became endless in this film. It was super fashion. This particular piece of dress was super fashion at that time. So the only task you have is to analyze the decision, the artistic decision. just to underlie and nothing more. Svetlana and Evgeny. Evgeny said that emotions have the same emotions. So you mistaken in some way. You said something like that. So no, I said something vice versa. So Svetlana is a little older than Evgeny. So the listening experience of different generations is different or not? So it's the question for both. So we just yesterday have discussed it. Even just because we have 2 years, I'm 2 years older than Evgeny. So we have discussed that there is no time. So there was nothing like we can work together, and it's wonderful because we people from different generations, but we never have a conflict of understanding. So I think that's because we the imagination and the space is more important than anything else. So I think that the age is quite dangerous thing because you have to understand when you have to stop your work, and it's true, especially for women. It's really dangerous. But if you have energy and idea, if you can offer something, offer ideas to the people who can fulfill it, especially to the people of different ages. So it's important to listen to each other, and it's important to have energy even though we don't have many time. So I will tell you later, but in this space there is no time. There is no listening experience in different decades and generations. Even I tell Evgeny when we were sitting, we don't have now pauses, and so we're together, we work together, we spend time together, and I think it's the question of inner energy and the way your brain works, of both of us. I don't know if we answer your question, but what a wonderful evening. We have a host. Pavel, thank you very much. And we start with that when we came to the stage it was very nervous, and I think I feel that I have to, as if I have to defend my thesis. So if we have directors in this class, in this hall, don't be afraid of the feeling. So you have to be dramatic in some way. I always have 3.5 minutes or seconds before I came to the stage, or I have the feeling of fear. I don't know what to say to them. I don't know if they will listen to me. I don't understand if I can go to the stage, but as soon as I step on the stage, I hear I hear Svetlana Nikolaevna is on the stage. I hear it. And everyone around me is ready to start. And it stops to. So don't be afraid to be afraid at the very beginning. But then you have to cope with it. And so I also want to ask you a question. And I'm still afraid, but I try to not to be afraid. So at the very beginning you told about the harmony and the fragile sound. So you told that you worked for many years with the same people. It means that you find your people. So can you tell me, relying on your experience, it's the question for both of you, especially because you people of different professions. So the question is how you try to understand beforehand the essence of people, or you have some. So when you try to choose person, do you have some tips how to choose it, or if it happens that you choose the person and you understand that there is no connect between you, how would you react and how would you work in this situation? Thank you. So I'm a little tired, but I think that you can be tired from our speeches, which are all about the same, but you cannot do art without any emotions. You have to feel it, you have to go through it. It's always a teamwork. It's not about me only. It's not about the sound designers only. It's not about the directors only. It's always a teamwork, and it's really good question. How to find your people. So the answer is simple. You have to find something similar in your lives, in your way of thinking, or maybe a part of life which will match. So it's about everything and about every person I work with. But there is important thing that you can use it only in the way when you close to each other. I'm absolutely sure that Evgeny knows that my decisions are not spontaneous. So if I see the decision and solution, if he came to me with his group of people and we spend many time together working on the same project, when I see that these people, they discussed with me something, they came to watch, to discuss something. So I'm absolutely sure that if I came and say that I'm not going to communicate with that person, I cannot see him. So I'm sure that Evgeny will understand me, even though it can be a hard decision and hard feeling. He would let me work without that person. Nobody is going to ignore the questions of each other. Don't be afraid to let people go. So as soon as we start to continue communicating without no emotions, and you have nothing from that relationships, as soon as you start to work with that people, the result will be awful. Even though the person can be mistaken, can do mistakes in his work, in her work, but she have the same vibe with you, you will continue working with her, even though you are not satisfied with her work. You have to learn how to let people go. You have to reject you have to, if you understand that there's no profit in your work, you have to make the right decision about people you choose for that project. So if they work bad, you have to let go. You don't have to ask yourself whether I should let them go or not. You have to decide what would be better for you and your project. So since you have a task, you have to finish it, you have to go through the way, and you have to organize people around you, and you have some responsibilities. So, and it's in some way hypothetical, because if we leave people, it's so you have to understand that the reason you want to people leave you, or you won't leave that people, have to be serious, not just because someone is absent in some moment. It's important. So, if I thought from the very first met with Alentova, so it would be end for me, not for her. She made everything she can, so I have to be patient about a person which I choose. It's also about your profession. It's always about directors, sound directors, and everyone else who works within the workspace. It's responsibility, first of all. So you will not have that questions while working. You will see that person in advance.
So when the process is on, so you will have still those questions. You know, I actually was at that time when all the directors and actors, directors actually managed to, you know, relax totally and drink alcohol, and the whole crew was waiting for them. Just can you imagine that it could happen right now on the set, when every filming day costs huge money? So, and instead of one shooting period, you have the other one. No, you just must be on time and should work on a certain rules. So everyone works like that, and you know the whole system is now constructed in a certain way that if you are out of this process, you are out of the system. So just don't be worried about that too much. So think about your artistic approaches. The other things are coming to you later. Okay, so maybe we do we have some more questions?
Так, ну последний вопросик.
So probably the last question.
Светлана Николаевна, вот вы все время говорите
Светлана Николаевна,
про художественное,
you're always talking about
о
the
том, как вы любите
artistic aspect of the
вопрос
profession.
к вам как к режиссеру. Все-таки
So my question is to you as a director.
режиссер, естественно, тоже должны ли мы как-то думать
So
о том,
should
что
we
кино это все-таки
should we
коммерческий продукт,
think that the film is
эту
that kind of commercial project, and we need somehow be focused on that? Well, my question is, I'm just trying to manage it for myself somehow. So the director should think about the artistic project or about commercial success. Well, the answer is simple, just because here I'm talking on just expressing my own opinion. Every
для себя считать существенной любую мотивацию.
So for myself, I don't think that in any kind of period of time I would consider that kind of commercial aspect for my films, because it's, I think, impossible to calculate it somehow in advance. Otherwise, I would attract a lot of, drug scenes, alcoholic scenes into my works. So no, that's kind of mystery. If I manage to do such a picture that would be really successful and people love it a lot, so I think nobody would refuse from that, and that would be nice to have a commercial success in this case. So, but I don't think that if I have my talented actor in my film, and that his poster would be somewhere around the city. So no, we are not like the lab in order to maybe put all the prices high, put everything, or maybe the stakes really high. No, we're just the simple viewers, and no doubt I would think about on that commercial purpose, and I think that's my way, and I want to follow it in a certain way, of course, in a certain my way. And the state, the government usually gives me money, and I don't take some other extra money from somewhere else. I'm ready to film for these little budgets that I got from the government, and what I call like really little money. And I never worked like with the people who like maybe ready to give me more money and just to gain some kind of to take the filming crew. No, my motivation is very simple. I also have some royalties from that, but wow. And that kind of, one of the cameramen told me that he wanted that particular royalty, and actually I added some more money from my royalties to the cameraman, because I really wanted him to film my picture. And in this case, I think, well, he actually was right, and I agreed with him, and I actually don't feel sorry for those my money that I gave to him, because I wanted his talented work in my picture. So when we just see and understand the certain images and power, it doesn't mean that I don't understand the power of money. No. So I understand that you're young people and you want to travel, you want to have relationship with the opposite sex, and so just the way that you are doing what you love. So thank you very much for this very interesting and bright workshop, for this such sincere topics. You covered a lot of topics and subjects during this conversation, and that we could see that the audience found their own interest here. They are not ready to finish. So still they will see some more pictures. So just remind you that tomorrow we have a very fruitful day. So we start at 10 o'clock in the morning, starting with the fiction films. So enjoy your time in the evening. See you tomorrow. Thank you very much.